So, hello and welcome to the DIDIOTS podcast, episode 5 with the Wyld system. What's up? Hello. So today we're just gonna be, shooting the shit as normal. And, just talking about system stuff, and they have interesting perspectives because they have kids who are also systems. So we want to talk about that a little bit and things like that. So let's rock and roll. I'm gonna be such a white dad. I am seeing my future, and it's not bright.
I feel that.
Just draw the line at socks and sandals, please.
I wear socks with my slides. I do. I'm the kind of... It's a sensory thing.
This is a croc, and I have...
I just can't, it's a sensory thing. I just can't have my feet on the rubber.
Me too.
It's a bad no feeling.
I feel like I always say, the deal is the toes can't show. That's like the draw. Like right there. Like the toes can't show. If the toes show, and you should always try to match your socks to your shoes. Like, don't go with white socks. Throw some funky colors or something.
If I'm wearing, I just bought these, new white pastel tie-dye shoes. Those I'll wear white socks with. Everything else, I'm wearing black socks.
I have a sudden urge to buy Crocs and ridiculous socks and wear them around now.
Well, okay, here's the thing. I have ridiculous socks. I have ridiculous socks. I'm currently wearing Ravenclaw socks. Even though I don't know my house because I'm a fresh fusion, but it is what it is. We have socks for every house. It's great. So we can each just have our own little thing for the day.
We're really big on we like any rainbow colored, brightly colored, if it looks like a kid would like it, that's the sock we want.
That's completely fair.
And we're also big on not matching socks. So all socks have to be the same shape when we buy them. But then the color, we'll get me and my son will get a sock pack and split it in half. One of us each takes one of the pair of socks, and then that's it. So it's because I'm never going to match these socks again. I don't see a point in trying.
That is completely fair.
Let's just go with it.
As long as you keep the same number.
You get you some Crocs and get you some knee-high socks in really funky colors. And that's a whole look. That's not lame. That's a whole look.
That's whole ass.
That is
it fits somewhere
my chaotic
in the
aesthetic.
Between, pixie manic dream girl kind of vibe, but it's a good look. It's a good look. But that's just, fashion is just so interesting when you're a system.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have some of us men who want button-ups and ties and bow ties, and then you have the, for lack of better words, emo bitches who want the full alternative e-girl e-boy look, and and then those who want the full I don't know, we're just broke, so we just have we just have the Walmart aesthetic, but it's fine.
That is my life right there, the Walmart aesthetic. That's my life. That's my life.
It's a great aesthetic.
I mean, but I got this at Walmart.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Bonus that it was trans colors, so I get to support my kids.
Heck yeah.
Oh yeah.
But,
I don't know what he wants.
But
you're doing
I'm
something
so glad that I
attention to him, so
yeah.
If you gave him the attention, then he wouldn't want it. He's a
That's
cat, right?
completely fair.
He's a cat, right?
I'm shocked mine aren't in here, and that's probably going to summon them.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I'm so glad I dissociate heavily from the body because we end up wearing dresses a lot, and I don't want to wear dresses, but I'm stuck in them. So it's like, I'll just dissociate away from it, forget I'm in it, it's fine.
Like, that is something that we've, like, tried to give people as a tip before, is, like, and we gave it to Truebell, and he ran with it, and he's like, oh, I get it now, and it does help, but doesn't obviously help everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have been living in this body well aware that no one really matches this body for so long. This is the ship.
Mm-hmm.
We are the pilots, and this is the ship. And like showers, feeling dysphoric in a shower, and our thought process will go to, we're washing the ship. This is our vehicle, and we have to take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is in no way us. In any way is this us. It's just the car we're riding. And like, that has helped a lot with the detachment side of it. Like, it's fine that I don't look right, because this is not me. This is just my car. This is just my car.
Right.
It's just my car. It needs gas. It needs to be cleaned. It needs to be maintained, and we can all do that together, because it's none of us. It's just our car.
That's completely fair. But like,
and we do have some alters that when they're doing like grooming, they will in their head be picturing like washing the ship, cleaning, like different things like that. Like, we'll visualize different actual maintenance things in order to get through whatever self-care it is we have to take care of.
So before I go into what I was about to ask, how many are in your system? Because I know both Galaxius and I are polyfragmented.
We are. Oh, I love it. I would love it if people will use this term. We're legio fragmented.
What does that mean?
We are 23.
So what does the term mean?
Legio, and I love it because I'm going to give you a whole bunch of vocabulary that you'll never have heard before, because it's just ours.
Yes, please.
Poly means like many.
Mm-hmm.
Legio means like few.
Okay.
So it still means multiple, but it doesn't mean a lot of multiples. It means a smaller amount of multiples.
Okay.
So we use that. We're polyfragmented and we're legio-fragmented. There are 23 of us. I don't know why. Deep Thought, our system commander, like, he's very big on that number. So we've even had mergers and fusions and gotten new alters to where it's always so perfectly timed. Like,
so it's like something. It's like you fuse, but then someone splits off, and you have 23 again.
Yes, like we never don't have 23. That doesn't mean that people don't fuse. That doesn't mean that we don't get new ones. Like, we got Frankie, and everybody was like, that would be 24. That would be 24. And Deep Thought was like, anybody checked on Shay and 2 Chainz yet? What do you mean? Well, I mean, have you checked on them? Oh God, they're 1, aren't they?
Yeah, like, our fusions, like, we actually have to... One of our therapy goals is to gain control over our fusions. And so that's something we've been doing, and we literally, in the Interworld, where we've been rubber banding people together.
I mean, do y'all Steven Universe?
Yeah. We have actually an Amethyst fictive, too.
Okay, so like,
yeah,
like, like permafusion versus
Yeah.
fusion.
Mm-hmm.
Like Shay and 2 Chainz, they're a permafusion.
Yeah.
Like there are 2 of them in there, but they know they're together.
Yeah.
And then we do temporary fusions, where it's like, okay, we're gonna put 2 of us together for a certain day, and then we can go back to being separate again.
We've had that experience. We had that experience more before we found a lot of the system. Like, it was more like it was less blended, but it was more like we were all conscious at the same time. Like, it wasn't like co-conscious, but I don't know how to explain it. It was super weird.
The levels of awareness in this disorder are so interesting. Like, people will ask us, when did you become aware you were a system? Oh, I was probably about 8. The first time I realized my imaginary friends are different from my friends' imaginary friends. They're playing with their friends outside their body. Mine are in here, and it would be weird to put them outside of my body. What are you talking about? That's weird. But were we actually aware of each other? Nope. It was like this blended thing where kind of everybody's conscious, but nobody's specifically conscious, and you just kind of mush.
Yeah.
And then whenever I was about 13, that's whenever persecutors come. Like, puberty is bullshit with this disorder.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I didn't even ask about like language or anything.
Oh, you can cuss. It's fine.
We say fuck all the time.
I try to tone it down when I'm speaking publicly, but
I was raised by a truck driver. It's fine.
I was raised super religious and was forbidden from swearing, and so now I swear all the time.
So fuck, shit, damn, yes, I get it. I get that too. But like in teenage years, that's when all the persecutors start coming out.
Oh, for sure.
And you start hearing these insults about yourself. And was like Lucy, who was a persecutor, and we had Joy, and they merged, and that's who Lacey is now.
Mm-hmm.
Before Lacey was Lacey, she was Lucy, and she was a bitch, and because we hated ourselves, and she made sure we knew it. So I was about 12 or 13 when I went to my mother and said, "There's a lady in my head who yells at me and tells me how horrible I am." And I was lucky because my mother said, "Let's give her a name and a face so you can tell her to shut the fuck up." And I was like, "All right, what am I going to name you?" And she was like, "My name is Lucy. You're not going to name me." And I'm like, "Oh.
Okay. Well, damn, okay."
And then from that point, then it's like, that was when MC went, and I'm MC. And Libby, I'm Libby, and that's Scarlett and Samantha. And we were like, oh, there are names. And in all honesty, the 2 that we're even talking about is like Indy and Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just like, oh my God, there's names. And we went with it, and it became a thing of, okay, well, so what do you look like? What do you do? What's up? And I think that was, for a long time, Indy and Charlie thought they're the host. They're the core. They're the main ones. Mm-hmm. Not even realizing that there were 3 before them. And it's like, you're just host for now, sucker. Like,
yeah, that's what we're struggling with.
You're just host for now.
It's like, and then switchy hosts, gotta love it.
Well, okay, so here's something, a big point that we don't talk about often enough, and we think we probably should start talking about it more, is the idea that our brains, doing what they did, they're really actually no different than a singlet's brain. us being systems doesn't offer, it's not a superpower.
It's not, yeah.
It doesn't add to us. It's what we are. So it's kind of like, my favorite thing to talk about with this is gender. And again, I know we were talking about gender. My gender is no thank you.
Yeah.
But when you look at gender is not a one spot on a line. There's a whole spectrum, and nobody lands exactly on the same space, right?
Right.
In a singlet brain, they're still in a spectrum of gender. It's just that in a system, we get to see that expressed single-handedly. So, like, the combination of all of us together, we have a gay man, we have a lesbian woman, we have a bunch of non-binaries, we've got a lot of gender fluids. Pronouns are kind of all over. What we started noticing is we're pretty much split down the middle, though. For every person that, like, we have a gay man, we have a lesbian woman. There's a balance there.
Yep.
And everywhere we found, we had this perfect balance. And we get to the point where we're like, okay, so what we are is gender queer. We're non-binary, non-conforming. And why is it that we make up that all together? Because again, we're seeing all of those little bitty opinions expressed separately.
Right.
In a singlet's brain, it's still doing the same thing. It's still got all these different opinions. It's just they're allowed in the same room at one time. And we're not always allowed in the same room at the same time. So again, when it comes to our brains and hosts, imagine, like, again, on the small end scale of DID, you have what singlets do, which is code switching. And do y'all know what code switching is?
Yeah.
Okay. I never know who's going to know the terms or not. So on that small scale, they have code switching, which is why they always bring that up when you tell them you're a system. Like, they're trying just to relate to you. But they're going, oh, yeah, I'm a different person at work than I am at home, than I am with my friends, than I am with whatever.
Like, we're like, yeah, we're that, but to like to a degree. to a disordered extent.
Yes, but that's my thing is that, like, imagine you told a singlet you're only ever allowed to act the way you do at work all the time.
Right.
You have to be your work self all the time.
Right.
You have to be your work self, your boss self with your kids.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
It doesn't work. So why in the world would they expect us to only have one host? Like, if you, like, I fully believe the most functional way a system can be is having a multi-host situation, which is a collection of people that rotate out and are able to do that, because, good Lord, that is too hard to ask of one portion of your brain.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I need you to run all the time.
We've just constantly got, like, there's, especially lately, Tia, Vex, Neff, Ajax, and Axel are all in the front constantly. And all sort of, like, we're all, like, simultaneously hosting, because none of us leave the front.
So we have people that we would consider, again, we're spaceships, so it's structured like co-pilot, pilots, sergeants.
Yeah, I feel that.
So we have, like, our pilots, and then we have, like, our command pilots that are in charge of them. And then beyond that, we have the computers and, I mean, for the engineering and, like, mechanical crew. And those people They are. If they're not around, we're not conscious.
Right.
Like if we are conscious and speaking to you, Deep Thought, Ileana, D'Artagnan, Wolfie, Artie, and Libby, and Indy are running. Period.
Mm-hmm.
There is no brain function without all of them.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I'm always curious to know if other systems have that situation where it's like you have an alters that are like in the background. They are always there.
Mm-hmm.
They're always active, but they're not really fronting.
Technically we would have one because we have a shell.
That's Indy.
So
Indy is our shell alter.
So he's constantly kind of aware. He doesn't enjoy being aware.
It's exhausting.
Oh yeah, I know. Every time he's popped up when we were talking, he's always just like, "No, I don't want to be here. I don't like being conscious. Fuck this."
Yeah, he doesn't like being. He doesn't like knowing he exists.
See, and that's the way our computers. We have 3 computers and a wolf. And then our 2 data people, like Libby, she can front, but she is like the master gatekeeper and the bookkeeper.
Yeah, our main gatekeeper is really close to the front because he's just like, I want to like, I don't know why he's like close to the front, but he's just like really close to the front.
Libby sits.
We have
like,
a council.
in the back.
We call them.
What'd you say about the council?
Yeah, we have the council. They're hold on. There's Artemis, Luna. I know their names. Hold on. Oak Ridge, Mr. No, and Amelia. And they're like the main gatekeepers. And there's also apparently a lot of inner world drama around them because for some reason our council is full of evil dictators. That's real fun.
It's funny because like
and I don't know why as a gatekeeper I find that amusing.
I don't want to play into the stereotype that systems are evil because they're
right.
not.
Right.
Again, being a system doesn't make you a good person either.
Right. Right.
But it doesn't inherently make you evil. But if you think about how many systems have evil, like what we would refer to as they're evil.
Right.
And they're running the systems. It always makes us think, because what do you need to fight a bigger evil that you're dealing with? You've got to get on the same
my
level
twin
as what you're dealing with in order to beat it. So, but again, we will always say, like, again, I don't necessarily believe that anybody is evil, but like, period, I don't think there's necessarily like that many people in the world that are just evil.
Right.
I think most people are just mean because they're hurt. And that's what I think most systems are. Most systems, the people we think are evil, the persecutors, the ones that are bad, they are just like so tired of the pain.
Oh, absolutely.
And they are angry. You know, and so it's like, I don't like, you say you're run by evil dictators, and I'm sitting here going, but I'm not scared. Like, I'm not going to be scared because I don't think they're really evil. I can't believe that about someone I'm sitting here talking to who is being so nice and so wonderful and all of that. Like,
well, like in our point of view is like everyone has this side of themselves that they can, you know, feed into or not feed into, and we just have them personified. So it's like they have to exist because no one, like, if they didn't exist, that part of ourselves wouldn't exist, and it would. And so it's like we literally have JD from Heathers, and he is one of the most problematic characters I have ever seen.
I feel like he's problematic because I've met a few people. I feel like he is problematic because though you know what kind of like branch he's going to be on, you never know exactly what it's going to look like.
Exactly.
Like, it's very chaotic. You know it's going to be bad, but what kind of bad? You know?
Like, what particular brand of bad is it this time?
Right. Because, like, our
Yes, like-
persecutors tend to form as sort of, like, self-hatred, intrusive thoughts, things like that. But JD is just a dick. And is, like, breaking boundaries and other stuff, and we're, like, getting annoyed with him. Because he's doing all these things. And so it's just, like...
That's real, though. That's real.
And so it's
like,
just like we're dealing with a whole person in here. It's like we are dealing with a whole person in here that needs to learn some stuff when we go to therapy next week.
Saying, like, I mean, I think I'm sitting here going, our biggest persecutor was Lucy, and it was all about the idea that, like, she had to be callous in order to get through everything that she had to get through.
We have several alters like that.
Like, how can we look at them and go, why are you so angry? Mm-hmm. Like, duh, you'd be angry too. But you got to live a life instead, you know? Right. Like, hang on, our garbage man is here, and so it might get a little loud.
You're fine.
It's all good.
So, you know, again, learning, and it's funny because I know y'all wanted to talk about some of the generational, like, kid stuff. Mm-hmm. That fact, learning that persecutors are not evil, they don't need to be locked away, they need to be loved, has helped. That it helps me being a parent that knows that to kids that are systems. Yeah. Because they get there earlier. They're getting all of this information way earlier than I got it.
Right.
And all that does is just prepare you so much more and put you in so much more of control as well.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think, like, something that's been very helpful for our system and getting things figured out is that our host Tia has been, when she started, like, piecing together what was going on, she did, like, a ton of research on being a system and what it's like and all this stuff. And she was like, okay, well, if ultras are here, then they're here. And I'm going to be nice to them. And then everybody decided, okay, we'll come out. Hi, welcome. You're finally letting us talk to you? Hi.
It's seriously, like, there have been so many people that we've talked to that we've given that exact advice to. Like, Charlotte did not want to believe this. And the question, how many times did you circle around DID and say no before you finally came to terms with the fact that it is? Like, so many times. We actually said to our therapist, the one that diagnosed us, I have people in my head. It's not DID. I just have people in my head. That is literally the definition, motherfucker.
We didn't, like, have that experience, because, like, we were in therapy when we found our first alter, and so immediately they were just like, that's DID, and so we were just like, okay, that's DID, we're going to sit with that.
And that is another thing that comes with the whole generational, like, learning about DID, is kids are getting therapy younger. Mm-hmm. Therapy was not, I mean, my mom tried, my dad was against it. Obviously, knowing now why he was against it, but mm-hmm. He was against it. And he had gotten a master's in psychology, so he wanted to be my therapist. Like, yeah, that's not healthy.
That's not.
So I didn't get any therapy until I was close to my 20s, and by then we'd already established that, like, I remember we didn't have an inner world. We just had spatial reasoning. It was Charlotte is here, Lucy is here, Joy is here, MC circles, Scarlett and Sam are here, and Libby's here. And we were just like hanging out in a black mist together. And again, we didn't meet a therapist that we felt like we could tell this to, because we know inherently if you tell somebody you hear voices.
Oh yeah.
That's straitjacket talk. Like, I have no interest in being taken away at all. So it wasn't until I was 30 that I felt comfortable and confident enough to say,
right.
Yeah, there are people in my head. I keep circling DID, but it's not DID. It is not DID at all. Which is why my therapist hung on to that diagnosis for 8 months before finally telling us. She was like, I knew if I said it was when I knew it was, you'd be like, bye, never talking to you again. And she was like, I knew I had to keep it from you, but yeah, it's been about 8 months now that I've been holding this diagnosis in my pocket. And I'm like, yeah, I guess, you're right. I had said something about Scarlett taking over, and she goes, you have DID, right?
Mood.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
That's like right. A similar experience to how we found out we had PTSD. Was we were talking about how we wanted to get a medical card, and my therapist was like, well, you have a PTSD diagnosis. And I was like, wait, what the fuck do you mean I have a PTSD diagnosis?
That's news.
I was like, that's news to me.
Oh my gosh.
And she was like, yeah, I can give you everything you need to go get that from the doctor that you need. And I was like, okay, thank you.
That, like, see, and I'm sitting here going, ours never even actually officially diagnosed us with CPTSD. She just did the DID and was like, I think that's enough.
Because, well, CPTSD isn't an actual diagnosis yet. So it's just...
Is it really not?
Yeah, so I think that's coming out in the next DSM, hopefully.
That and oh gosh. And hopefully they're going to move BPD.
Oh, yeah, hopefully they're moving BPD to dissociative, yeah.
I cannot wait for that.
Because BPD is such a dissociative disorder. I look at my sister and I'm like, oh my lord, you have a dissociative disorder. Because she has BPD, and I'm like, you are me, but not me.
I have said this so many times. I'm like, can you tell me what the difference between BPD and DID is? So, like, there are different parts. You can't control when they take over. You sometimes don't remember what happened when another one of them is in control. And you dissociate. And you're in a whole other class away from us. I don't understand. I don't at all understand. Yeah, you're definitely closer to us than so many of the other ones that you're with right now.
Yeah, because it's not a personality disorder.
No.
It's one of them mother trauma disorders, babies.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the dissociation.
Dissociation in and of itself can be genetic.
That is it. Well, it is. It absolutely is. Well, okay. So they have yet to come out with like a major claim, but all the science so far is absolutely factual. Like, either you can dissociate, either your brain can do that or not.
Yeah.
There's no in the middle.
Right.
Either it can or it doesn't. And then the one thing that I love pointing out to people is, in people with systems, our hippocampal volume is really small. And that the hippocampus is like the big memory thing. And so like it's one of those things where scientists are going, it's pretty obvious they're not storing memories the same way that everyone else is. It's pretty obvious that this is different than a normal brain. Right. Like, this is not something, and it all starts with the question of, if trauma is the only key factor, why is my spouse not a system?
Mm-hmm.
He dissociates too. So why is he not a system? Well, he's not, but he is diagnosed with BPD.
That's a big oof.
But talking to him about it, he's like, when I get angry and I get in that headspace where I'm angry and I'm saying things that I don't mean and blah, 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 he's like, it's like I'm watching it happen, but I can't make it stop. It's not me.
Yeah, my sister has anger blackouts. And
Like,
also age regresses. And I'm like, honey?
it's just like, instead of like a good chunk of dissociation in between those episodic memories, they got just a little sliver.
Because, like, the way I explained it to her is I showed her this chart on structural dissociation, and I basically told her that it was, like, either she didn't dissociate as far, or it was because she was older when, like, the big trauma happened. And so it was, like...
Yeah.
And so it was, like, either because she was older or didn't dissociate as far. And so, and then, like, I'm like, you dissociated. I just dissociated further because I was baby.
Well, and I don't know if y'all know this, but our favorite phrase in the whole wide world is, we have a theory. Something that actually plays into the theory of just how systems are structured, period.
Mm-hmm.
Basically meaning also it matters whenever you're talking about, like, polyfragmented.
Yeah.
Versus non-polyfragmented or legio-fragmented. The type of trauma is important.
Yeah.
And so is the frequency with which it happens. For instance, and I talk about, again, I use my husband and I as a good example. My trigger warning, because I'm going to mention types of abuse, I guess. My particular trauma was SA, was sexual assault trauma. It only happened at night. It only happened in bubbles. The rest of my life was great. I had a supportive family. Even my abuser was great. Right. Outside of those bubbles. So for me, it was easier for my brain to bubble that memory away. And there was, again, it was something my brain went, we can do this. We can bubble it away. Mm-hmm. For someone like my husband, who experienced physical and mental abuse on a daily basis, mm-hmm. you can't black out the whole life.
That's
there
like
has to be
what I was about to say was
some form
like,
of a timeline there.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. It was like, because that was like our experience was like, it was like a daily thing, it was like daily, like, mental and emotional abuse, and it was just so complex that. And I think that's why it played into, like, because I think I talked about it before on a different episode where you weren't here, where I was like, I think it's like where polyfragmented versus, where I don't remember what you said. I'm so sorry. Polyfragmented versus non-polyfragmented systems is kind of like CPTSD versus CPTSD versus PTSD. And that's like kind of what we were going on about. And
it's again, and I think that especially with the polyfragmentation, it's interesting whenever you start to compare systems and their types of trauma and the lengths of trauma and what everything was, mm-hmm. How many commonalities there are, like it was every day. Right. Neglect is one of the major ones that we have seen in polyfragmented systems. When you have parental neglect, it is every day. Yep. Every day. And that's not something that you can completely blank out. So, like, again, in polyfragmented systems, it seems like y'all have more emotional amnesia.
Mm-hmm.
And we usually, the things that we would be emotionally have emotional amnesia for, we just have total amnesia.
Like, we have a lot of emotional and total amnesia. It just depends on, like, who is communicating with who. It just, like, some people have better communication with others. We have kind of, like, cliques in the brain. Just, like, groups of people who are, like, closer to each other than others.
Oh, yeah.
But it is very complicated, because, like, we started out only knowing about 6 people. And then we were at 6 people for a year because our system went into, like, survival mode because a big trauma happened. And so, like, we were in survival mode for a year. So we were like, oh, yes, we are 6 people. And then coming out of that dissociative state, and now we're sitting here at, like, 160. And so we're like,
And another thing that we think is interesting is a lot of polyfragmented systems are on the spectrum.
That's definitely something we've noticed, is that, I think especially because I've heard that polyfragmentation is often caused by multiple types of trauma.
Okay, so, like, if you've got neglect happening, it's not just that as a non-spectrum person, it's not just that they're dealing with that neglect as one piece.
Yeah.
And people who are on the spectrum, and this is systems or non-systems, and people who are on the spectrum, each individual feeling is separate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you can feel all of it at once. There's anger, there's my anger about it, there's my sadness about it, there's my loneliness about it, there's this about it, there's this about it.
Yep.
And so in a system, we used to say, and Truebell, the older one that we adopted, he and I would always say it would be like if you took all 23 of us and then shattered each one of us and said, you're this specific trauma, but we're going to shatter you into this many pieces because that's the different feelings we had about each aspect of the trauma.
Yeah. And, like, we have an experience where it's like we have, like, protectors that guard specific persecutors and things like that. And, like, so it's like people assigned to specific people, and it's all it's super weird.
We have some alters who are incapable of feeling of certain emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
we do too.
Our host Tia, for some reason, can't be angry. She's, like, completely incapable of being angry. And then there's Ajax, who's just like, I'm all of your anger.
Yep.
It's literally like you were saying, you said it earlier, it's the same, it's exactly that. We are seeing the brain personified. Somebody else may be just having an internal argument of, do I want to do this or do I want to do that, or do I want to do this or do I want to do that? I'm getting to watch a centaur beat up a Spice Girl, like I don't have to hear the argument either, because, like, that, I don't know if y'all have that issue too, but, like, a lot of our arguments, it's like once it turns inner world, it becomes,
yeah,
you want to go? All right, let's go. And then they like duke it out for a minute, and then it's like, okay, we're gonna do this. Like, okay,
like, all right.
Like, I genuinely can't remember because we just dissociate too hard. The only fight I can think of was actually like not a fun one. So I don't want to go into that one.
They're never fun. I mean, sometimes they're hilarious, but they're
Oh,
never
yeah.
fun.
Oh yeah, from like an objective standpoint, if I talked about it from like a joking perspective, I absolutely could, but I just don't. No.
As long as we talk about it from the perspective of the person who was not in the fight. It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the people
Like,
involved in the fight are still
fighting,
too
but
mad about it.
can't.
The people involved are still too mad
like,
about it.
I'm like, dude, Chiron, you horse kicked her across the room. That was a little much. And Chiron's, and like, I'm joking about it, and Chiron's like, I wish you could murder people in here, but you can't.
And someone the other day say, I know that altars can't die, but I'm gonna figure out how to commit murder.
That we had a very similar experience with with Veronica and JD, because we have fucking both of them for some reason. But we were like, man, we could just follow source and just blow JD up, and we're like, wait, we can't.
You can try.
You can try. He's just gonna come back.
Yeah, he's just gonna come back. And, you know, sometimes that's fun, but, you know, still. But
people are saying they want to try it for fun, and I'm like, no, we are not. No, stop. We are not just playing with the headspace for fun. We're not.
Like, headspace is too hard anyways. Like,
it's too difficult. We can't deal with that. We've barely seen any of the rooms. I don't want y'all to blow it up.
I love hearing about people's inner worlds, because we always tell people we're always so jealous of everybody. Everybody's got these beautiful and elaborate inner worlds, and we're like, we're a brain spaceship. Yep, it's shaped just like a brain. All our rooms are in the temporal lobes. Libby's office is right where the hippocampus is.
But I'm the opposite. I love simple headspaces. I love simple inner worlds.
Oh my gosh! I can give you a simple layout of ours. It's so it's so simple. Brain was so simple. It literally built itself.
Like, ours is quite literally just a tower with a field around it with a forest around that, and then the front room is like a separate building.
That is awesome! You have a forest in your head! That is awesome!
But you know how, like, you can have, like, the walls that have, like, the weird images of moving clouds on them? That's what happens. Yeah. That's what happens, like, not too far into the forest. You can't actually go into the forest! There's just like a chunk. It's just like a Minecraft chunk. You can't escape it.
It's just one Minecraft block. That's it. That's all you get.
That's all you get. You get the square. You get the square, and then the tower is on the square. That's it.
No, see, ours is literally. It is a spaceship that is shaped kind of like this. There are 3 levels, and then there's an elevator that goes down to the engine rooms. It is literally a brain and a spinal cord. Like,
that's fantastic, though.
Literally looks exactly like a brain. So predictable.
Fronting area, which is quite simple because it's just a big room that sort of fades in the back, and that's where there's the front room, the black mist, and the observation area. And then if you go deeper in, there's disjointed sort of sections. Because there's the castle. Well, there's multiple castles, but there's the main castle. There's a lake with a forest around it. There's a city. There's heaven and hell. And I believe those are the main areas. And they're all sort of disconnected in their own sort of bubbles.
like inner world jealousy. Like I love it. I like it's so I I like it whenever like people talk about having like forests and castles and things like that. Like we always think like why couldn't we be more imaginative? Like we went for function, not fun. You know, we went for function.
We had an inner world before we had this inner world, and it only had it was an infinite hallway, but we only had access to the first 25 rooms. And then after we got past 25, we didn't have access to our inner world for like 2 months, and then we had access to this inner world. And so we were just like, what the fuck?
Brain went.
Brain went, here is inner world for you. And we're like, okay. Thank you, I guess. They're like, infinite hallway wasn't good enough.
We had like way more, it was way more of a conscious effort for our inner world. And I say conscious effort, but it wasn't exactly a conscious effort to build an inner world. It was Charlotte going, we need to work as a team. I can't ignore this anymore. I am done. We need to work as a team. We need to all work together. Yeah. I'm done. And that was because we had a therapist, because we told a therapist we hear people talking and they're all talking smack about us. And she was like, why don't you close your eyes and imagine you're in a room. You know, what's the floor made of? What's the walls made of? And I'm like, I'm in a castle. I'm in a tower. Okay, where are the screamers? Well, they're right in front of me. Okay, we'll put a door there. Okay. Can you hear them? No. Cool. That lasted for all of like a week. I mean, I don't even think it was a full week. I think it was a 5-day, like I'm talking a business week. And then I went.
Oh yes, it is the weekend, so I must arrive.
Yeah, and so like everything blows up from that point, and Charlie's like, "Okay, I get it now. We're a team." And so what Charlie did was took what the therapist did, and she imagined. Our favorite show in the whole wide world is Futurama.
Fair enough.
And they just signed up for 20 more seasons. Oh,
that's a lot of seasons.
I mean, not seasons, episodes. Not seasons. Oh my gosh, I missed episodes.
That would have been a lot of
seasons.
I
just hope that they can work it out so that they get the correct voice actor for Bender, because I know there's drama about that.
I'm like, John imagine, just take the money, man. It's enough, all right? You still swimming in so much cartoon money. Just come on. Like, we need you. I'll still watch it though. So Charlie imagined the what we call it's now called the good news table. So it's the table they sit at when the professor is like telling them about their job. And she imagined that in the head, and she sat down and she was like, I need you all. I need you to come out. We've got to work together. This is not going to work without all of us working together. And slowly everybody brought themselves in, pulled up a chair, and started talking. From that point on, it was like there was no talking about it. It was just we went from the Futurama table to, well, we need some keyboards and controls, so spaceship.
Spaceship
again, and I would say at first it wasn't even a spaceship. At first it was really more like Power Rangers, Megazord. All the pieces come together, and they're like sitting in the chest, all sitting there together, controlling it together.
Right.
That's what we were. There was only like 7 of us. It was super easy. It was super easy to all work together. And then it became, there is so much more we need here. Like, we need a meeting area. We need this. 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 And then it became too big for the Megazord, so we became Spaceship.
Fair enough.
Like, but it was definitely more. It was more of us going. We need. What can we do in here?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, you know, our favorite quote from Gravity Falls comes. This is the mind. You can do anything you can think of. Like,
Right.
we can do whatever we want in here.
Mm-hmm.
We just got to want it together and work to do it together, which is way more difficult than people think. But
Yeah.
that whole trying to agree on like, I think a lot of us, we've theorized why we're a spaceship and not something more intricate, and I think a lot of us have come to the conclusion that we all would want so many different things. A spaceship was the only thing all of us didn't want. Like, we
Fair.
all didn't want something so boring and so functional. So that is exactly what Deep Thought gave us. You know, because Deep Thought's the one that generates all of that. He's the main. It's funny because people talk about a core. Like, if we had to name a core, the core would be Deep Thought, which he's literally the computer for the ship. Like, he's super in charge. Whatever he says at the end is what's going to happen. If there's an argument, it'll go up the chain of command, but he's the last one.
Mm-hmm.
He also never fronts, and and if anybody actually met him, they'd think we were an asshole. Because he's an asshole.
We have a couple alters like
an
that.
altruistic Vulcan. Like, just no human understanding in any way. But, you know, he basically was like, I think that's what it was. He was basically like, none of you would like it if it was a spaceship. So since y'all can't agree.
Fair enough.
Just. We not have gotten some flowers, maybe? Like, a garden? And he's like, I gave you a holodeck, all right? Bitch, imagine some flowers. I just wanted to breathe real oxygen, bruh. There's no oxygen, it's a brain, stupid. Like, that's that. He's not right there. There is no oxygen, it's a brain. Okay. Spaceship it is.
All right. Do we have any like final wrap up thoughts for the podcast today?
I didn't know if y'all had any questions y'all wanted to ask. I feel like we don't answer a lot of questions about our system, so when we get invited to do things like this, we're like, you know, free shot. You can ask us whatever you want. You can ask us our opinion on any kind of cis course or anything. We don't care.
I don't know what cis course is even going on.
I love how, like, I'll be like, did you hear about blah blah blah? And they'll be like, no. Did you hear about blah blah blah? No. Let's exchange. Meanwhile, like, on TikTok, we're just like, we love everybody. Like, hey, even if you are faking DID, we love ya. Like, make no enemies.
Literally.
I just want to be man. I'm a hippie. I'm too much of a hippie to.
That is completely.
Love and peace.
Love everybody, but give me those juicy gossip deets.
I don't want to be involved in the drama.
I just want to know about it.
I do have many of us have a nice time facilitating drama for people.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we're that person where if you're on Facebook and there's like a thread going, we're that person that brings screenshots.
Oh yeah,
says,
absolutely.
Oh, no. Back 2 days ago, this is what they were saying.
Right.
Or someone says, I have no idea. That was my favorite. Somebody posted something. What is going on, guys? What is this about?
Screenshots.
Here's the screenshots. Here's where it started. Here's da-da-da. I have no problem facilitating your drama for you. I just don't want to be involved. If you ask me to be involved, I'm going to be like, oh, I have no opinion. I don't care. I'm just giving you the facts.
Exactly.
Good. I'm gonna let you eat your own tail. That's what we're doing here. We're letting you eat your own tail.
But like, we usually end like obviously saying like, you know, you're valid. You have more control over your system than you think you do. You know, like
I would definitely like to say we do not believe that there are alters and systems that are inherently bad.
Absolutely. Like they may do bad things. We just have to figure out how to work with them.
How to work with them.
We may or may not have to deal with. We may or may not have to deal with a mofo in a box, but we had to shove a mofo in a box.
Like we tell people, like there is. You don't have to necessarily like quote unquote cage someone.
Yeah.
But there are boundaries, and those lines have to be drawn because protecting the system is what's important.
Oh yeah. The only reason, so literally the only reason that we couldn't, the only reason that we shoved this dude in a box was because he was such a big threat to the system at the point in time that even the persecutors were helping shove this dude in the box. So we were like, he should probably be in the box.
Like, what is it? Truebell, they have like jail cells, but they're not really jail cells.
Mm-hmm.
They're like therapy cells. So like, you're gonna be caged, but we're gonna do therapy in there, and we're gonna love you, and we're gonna work this out because we don't want you to be in here.
Our Amethyst bubbled him,
but you have to be in here if you can't stop this, you know.
Our Amethyst bubbled him and put him in her room.
Okay, I love hearing about introjects because we really don't have any that fully claim, like, especially fictives. We don't have any that fully claim fictive status. Yeah. We have some that advocate for fictives because they're partial fictives, but none of us think none of us have ever had we think we actually are. We have always been very
Amethyst
well aware
is
we're
mostly
not.
Internal. She just kind of runs around internally.
About it, though.
Yeah.
Because you're telling me that, and I'm sitting here going, that tracks.
Yeah,
that absolutely tracks with Amethyst's character.
She just bubbled him and put him in her room.
Of course, she bubbled the most troublesome one. I mean,
yep.
Of course, that tracks totally, 100%. By the way, hi Amethyst.
She says hi.
I'm sitting here going, I know we've said her name enough that it's probably.
Yep, she's kind of close to the front, but. She doesn't particularly like to front.
Like, again, we have a heart for fictives. All fictives are valid.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's always fun talking about fictives because I think we just found an Amethyst fictive ourselves. Gotta love it. Hey, what's up?
Because the worst part is you can see something, like, especially being, like, so polyfragmented, you can see something one time, and someone who doesn't have a form yet can just, like, grab a form.
Hey, that's me.
That's how we ended up with JD and Veronica, because we just discovered Heather's this week, and we don't know how to deal with it.
You go to, like, the roller rink, and you go to rent your skates, and they've got, like, cubby holes.
Yeah.
Of skates, right?
Yeah.
I always looked at it as imagine there's this service desk and they've got all of these things behind them, and in each one is this little fractal piece. And it's just a piece sitting there going, I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting to see something that I identify with. Because in all honesty, like, I think the reason why younger people are more fictive heavy than us old folks all the time is because y'all have more access to media.
We were sat in front of a screen from the time we were like 2.
Not only that, y'all's characters are people. Are actual, like, humanoid or are people,
like the round characters.
Weird. I'd have like the 100 Acre Woods.
Yeah.
And it would be weird to have Winnie the Pooh in my head. It's too weird. So it's like we didn't have a lot of good options. But in all honesty, every alter is an introject. Because you can't create a personality without taking from your outside sources. Like, you can't. So every alter is an introject. It's just, it's like an OC. Like, you create an OC, and I guarantee you can find other characters that have pieces that you drew inspiration from.
Right.
It's not the same, but
become interjects.
So, like again, and so for y'all, it's like you've got all these pieces sitting there, and they see this thing, and they're like, that looks right. All right, I'm here. What's up? And it's like, oh, look, that's awesome. I know fictives can be pains in the butts, but they're awesome. And it is neat to see fictives across different systems, because you never get an actual copy of the actual person. You get Truebell, like I always say that's Truebell Tommy and that's Cavern Tommy. They're two different people.
Yeah. Because, like, Galaxius and I have similar interjects, but, like, we're still completely different.
Yeah.
Like...
Well, it's like, it's because your brains are going to notice different things about that character. You may look at the character and say, I want them because they're brave. And they may look at the character and say, I want them because they went through all that shit and they're still standing.
Right.
And it's literally almost the same thought, but just that difference changes them completely. Changes who they are. So, And again, I say all that just to say I want all the interjects and fictives and factives out there to know that they're valid.
Absolutely.
You're totally valid. We're all just interjects.
Because, like, your brain can't, like, make up a face. Like, our brain-made alters, until we make something that looks like their face, they don't fully see themselves. Like, they are, like, really blurry. Until they, like, make something.
See, and I'd even say for us, it's still blurry when we're in the headspace looking at each other. For us, it's way more, like, I don't think we actually talk to each other. I think we're actually using telepathy. Like, when we think about internal situations, everybody's going, I don't actually remember your mouth moving. Like, I don't actually remember what face you made. I just know you made that face.
Right.
Kind of fuzzy dream world kind of thing. But
like to say, we just kind of guesstimate what everyone's doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's like, they're doing something. I don't know. But this is the feeling it gave me, so I'm pretty sure this is what it was.
Yeah. Because in a weird way, it does kind of work like Inside Out.
That's my thing. Like, if you took Inside Out and, like, every single orb became a new controller of the situation, that's systemhood.
Yeah.
Yup.
Just every orb that those feelings make. Yeah. You've just got a new person. So there's just a lot more islands for us.
Yeah.
A lot more islands, and they're completely inhabited by people.
Yeah.
So
basically, yeah.
All right.
It's just like every day they drop those memories, and it goes through a machine. Boop, new alter. Boop, new alter. Boop, new alter. There you go.
All right. Well, we are over an hour, so let's wrap this bad boy up. I don't know what I'm doing. Fucking Ace is close to the front. He needs to stop. Oh, he needs to stop. Oh, goodness.
Well, thank y'all so much for having me, having us. Like, such an honor. We adore y'all.
Oh, thank you.
Like I said, we're like low-key fangirling about it, so we weren't like bragging to people or anything.
It's
about
okay,
being
we're
on
low-key
this. Not at
fanboying
all.
about it having you here, so.
Like, that's always such a weird concept for us because we're always so excited that somebody invited us, and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm freaking out," and I'm like, "Why? Like, why?" And that's on trauma.
That's on trauma. All right. Well,
But thank y'all. Anytime y'all let me know, we'll be down.
Heck yeah.
This was awesome.
Yeah, we usually record on Mondays, so it's just whenever
Mondays is usually, I love it because Mondays is usually the day I don't have anywhere to go.
It's fantastic.
Like, it's the one day I'm like, I'm just gonna be at home. Oh. No problem.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Alrighty. Well, there is no one really on